Hey guys, I am driving right now to teach my Saturday morning children's jiu-jitsu class. So it's a 10-minute drive, and I want to share about the landscape of the martial art industry and the truth behind the martial art industry, right? And so basically, to the general public, a lot of times our knowledge or perceived or knowledge of a subject matter is taught by media, and a lot of time it's superficial. It's not deep. It's not insightful, and you can't blame the public because I'm not knowledgeable about a lot of subject matter, and I don't have time to look it up unless it's something that I really need. So the martial industry right now is like fragmented in so many directions, right? And I want to tell you guys the truth behind the martial industry, and so that you're more informed. So a lot of people don't know this, but one of the first martial art that came to America was actually judo. When the Americans occupied Japan after World War II, we basically outlawed a lot of martial art, and the only few that we did not outlaw was Kendo, which is the Japanese sport of fencing, and judo, right? And then it became karate after that. That was not outlawed, but prior to that it was judo. And so if you pick up black belt magazines from like 1967, literally the whole magazine is all about judo. And then after that you start seeing karate, and then in the 70s you started seeing kung fu because of the Bruce Lee craze. So back then, the people who brought back martial art from Japan were the American GI. So they came back, and it was tough. It was rough because these American GI, when they were in Japan, they would train with the Japanese instructor and students, and a lot of times the Japanese felt like, I wouldn't say inferior, but they were kind of upset that these American, like, a lot taller and stronger than them, were occupying their land and trying to learn their martial arts system. And so you would hear karate schools where the instructor would beat up the American, especially full contact style karate. So when the Americans came back to America, the American GI, that's what they brought back. It was a very tough and rough style of karate, rough and style of judo. And basically it was taught by these American GIs, and if you got a black belt, you were badass because you would just train and you would beat each other up, and then eventually you get your black belt. And then things started changing with the kung fu craze, but things really started changing literally overnight when a few martial art owners discover the aerobic craze, the dance craze. They started following the business models of these dance clubs, where the students have to sign up for memberships, not just for a month at a time, but 6 months, 1 year contract. And there was a lot of upsell, right? And they started making class more palatable to the public because there was already a perception of how badass karate or kung fu is, right? And so the marketing was already there, and so all they had to do is repackage it and try to bring you into that imagery that you would have if you were to do this martial art. So that's when things started going a little bit crazy. And then what really went even more crazy was the first movie, The Karate Kid. So you will see it being shown on TV all the time now, but when it first came out, literally overnight, all these karate instructors realized, wait a minute, there's a huge untapped market out there to potentially teach kids. So they started shifting the direction of martial art, where everything was started geared toward kids. Now you can't really blame them, because this is a very huge untapped market, and you can make a lot of money. You know, a lot of times parents would skimp on themselves, but they're unwilling to skimp on their child. And especially if someone goes up to them and tell them all the benefits that martial art can give to a child. Now, my personal belief is that just because an instructor teaches martial art doesn't mean that all the benefits will be there. You know what I mean? You really have to dig in deep. Like, your child go to school, does he have all the benefit of learning? Not really. You know, it's conducive on the environment, conducive on the curriculum, conducive on the instructor, and conducive on your child. So be careful the information you get fed. Anyways, literally overnight, all the martial art schools started shifting. Now you still have martial art school that are still taught in the community center, in a basement, at a fitness facility, etc. And then you still have martial arts school like myself, who teach functional martial art, but we also teach to kids. But we don't want to basically put the cart before the horse, right? So basically we want to make sure that we don't overpromise. So getting to the point overpromise, I've been teaching now for almost 14 years, and a lot of people don't know this, but I also worked at a public school for 10 years. And I noticed a lot of behavioral patterns with children. And I'm Asian, so the way I approach education is very stoic, very like about pushing yourself. And so what I noticed is that if your child can push through and not have too much internal dialogue, they will do well. And what I mean by internal dialogue is they start having this little conversation with themselves, start critiquing themselves or judging themselves, or having an unrealistic expectation of themselves, start worrying about failure, start overthinking things, right? And then it becomes this huge snowball effect, and then they start training their mind to have internal dialogue. And so when students train with me, I always emphasize that, especially when we have new students, or whenever we have children who have never done my class before. I tell them to do my drill, and I tell them that they cannot judge themselves. They cannot say it's good or bad. They just need to do it and put a lot of effort into it, and let me decide if what they're doing is good or bad. In the sense of performance, you never try to judge a child based on their performance. Instead, judge on their effort. Right? So there's a really good book. I have a mental block right now, but her name is Carol something, and the book is called Mindfulness or something like that. I gotta look it up. But it's all about judging kids, judging workers, judging everyone based on effort. That's it. And teaching them to evaluate their merits based on effort. Anyways, guys, I apologize. I'm rambling a little bit. I'm a bit tired. I feel a little bit stressed because I'm 100% self-employed now for 2 weeks, and my business cycle is going down a little bit, and I'm a little bit nervous. I'm second guessing myself, and these are things that I think everyone goes through. So anyways, I hope to shoot a better video. If you like what I just shot, please comment. But getting to my point, the martial industry is kind of really fragmented right now, and you have martial arts school that's geared toward the kids. You have martial arts school that's geared completely to the adults, and then you have martial arts school in between. Now, the martial arts school that's geared toward the kids, you can watch their evolution. It gets more and more watered down, less functional. It gets really, it feels like a McDonald's environment where everything is packaged, you know what I mean? And that's what's being taught right now to a lot of martial arts instructors who are struggling and trying to make money, trying to get ahead. We're taught to package everything. We're taught to make everything to a system. And ironically, if you do that, what you're teaching is not part of you. It takes a long time to get really good at something. It takes a really, really long time to make that subject matter part of you. And when that subject matter becomes part of you, you and the subject matter becomes one, and you have your own feel or touch or things on that subject matter. So for example, you know, I went to fashion school. I was actually a fashion designer for a while, and I actually worked in the fashion industry. And really, really good fashion designers, when they design stuff, you can see that that designer has their fingerprint on something, on the way they design, the way they have the aesthetic, the way they choose the color palette. You know, you can see it. Anyways, when you join a martial arts school that's based on packaging system, like it becomes more of a system for them to expedite things. Nothing wrong with that, because it's about getting martial art to the masses. But then it gets overkill where everything becomes a system. And then they streamline it to the point where they can have a 19-year-old or 20-year-old teaching you martial art. And so what happened is, like, if you look around you in the restaurant industry right now, there's no mom and pop restaurant business anymore. It's all run by huge restaurant chain, right? And everything is systemized, you know, from the menu to the ordering system to just hiring someone to cook, you know what I mean? And to the general public, that's what we do. We like, my family, for example, 90% of the time, we're shopping at these restaurant chains like Cracker Barrels, Applebee's, Red Robin's, you know, stuff like that. And these guys, I mean, they may be good chefs, but they haven't devoted the whole lifetime developing these skills, right? So the menu selection is limited. What they can cook is limited. So when you're learning martial art from me, you're actually learning just my journey. Like basically, I just take you along, and I show you what I'm doing and what I have discovered over the years. I try to make it really authentic. I mean, I systemize certain things because at the end of the day, it's a business and I have to make it run smooth. But that's something you gotta watch for, is the system. It's a huge dirty secret where these martial instructors will go away for a week or a weekend, get certified in something, and then they'll slap whatever they got certified in on the window, and now they say they're certified to teach this, certified to teach that. Now, to the general public, they don't know what certified mean. Like, well, it's just some third party saying, it's just putting a rubber stamp, and the certification may not really mean anything. Anyways, guys, what you want to do is you want to look at these martial instructor and who they learn from, right? So for example, there's a lot of karate schools that emphasize point sparring. They don't do full contact in the sense of like hitting each other full force, full movement, because they learn from point sparring karate, right? And then you have martial instructors who overemphasize katas. You have martial instructors who overemphasize physical strength. Like you might go to some MMA school and it's taught by some young kid, and they learn from other young kids. So it's all about physicality. Anyways, guys, I'm sitting in my car and I should get into the gym and start getting ready to teach my class. Talk to you guys later.